Hi, everyone. This is Ellen from the Astrology Journal. I want to just go over, kind of do an overview of how you calculate planet positions. I'm writing an article, and I'm going to go over step by step in the article how to do it. But I think that can sometimes be overwhelming to kind of read math steps and things like that. It can just be like, So I thought I would just quickly go over, or relatively quickly go over the steps. I'm not going to use the actual planet positions for our event chart. And I did a video where I talked about my reasons for that. It was a bit of a rant. I may or may not post it. We'll see. But anyway, I'm just going to use generic examples, really easy examples, and just to go over the concepts. One thing I want to say before I get started is that what I've been saying all along, that we need to calculate the sidereal time before we can calculate the planet positions, is wrong. I totally got that wrong. We do not need to calculate the sidereal time to find the planet positions. We only need to calculate the GMT event time. That makes it way easier. If all you want to do is put a chart up on a natural wheel, get the event time, calculate the GMT time, go through the planet position process. That's it. That's all you need to do. Then once you have where the positions of the planets, you can put them on a natural wheel, because it does not matter where the cusps were and where the signs are on the chart. You're just using the natural wheel. So I'm sorry I got that wrong. I just had it in my head. Planet positions are calculated using sidereal time to my best understanding, and we do use tropical time for our event times. So why we don't have to transition to the sidereal time to figure out planet positions, I'm not fully clear, except that maybe it can be assumed that the planet positions in the ephemeris are themselves sidereal time. But there are definitely some pieces in this that I'm not understanding. We do need the sidereal time to calculate house cusps. I'm not sure why we need that. I would have thought it would be for the planet positions that for sure we need it. So there is something that is not clear to me, and I apologize for conveying wrong information, but hopefully this clarifies it, at least in terms of the fact, if not the understanding. One of the reasons that my understanding, when I think about how I got it wrong, was because typically when we want to calculate charts, we want the house cusps. And in order to know where to put the planets on the wheel, we need to know where the house cusps are, because then if Virgo is on the ascendant, Virgo is going to be the first house. And on a natural wheel, Aries is the first house. So if we don't know the house cusp, we don't know where to put planets on the wheel if we're calculating a chart for an event location, etc. So what this means is that when people teach how to calculate charts, they always teach get the GMT time, or the one, I shouldn't say always, the ones that I've looked at, they teach get the GMT time, and then they teach calculate the house cusps. It makes sense. You need it in that order. And then you calculate the planet positions. For me, for my purposes, I don't need, right now, my personal purposes are looking at things like lunations, planetary transits, things like that, not relevant to a specific event or place, and just look at the energies on the natural wheel. So I actually don't need the house cusps right now. So that means for me, the process is really easy. But because it's taught the way that it's taught, my brain just scrambled, because we need to get the sidereal time for the house cusp. My brain just scrambled it and just carried that over to, of course, we need to calculate we need the sidereal time to calculate house cusp. So I'm sorry, to calculate planet positions. So as far as I know, that's why I got it wrong. My understanding, though, about tropical and sidereal, I think is correct. I suppose if not, I'll have to update that, but I feel pretty good about that. So anyway, and the other thing is that everything we've gone over in terms of the steps of how you actually calculate charts is correct. So you will still be able to calculate charts based on this. So I just got the concept wrong, a construct, and I don't understand. There are pieces I don't understand. So hopefully I would like to understand this more fully, because it's really complex, but I think also by understanding it, it can really kind of open up some things. So anyway, how do we calculate planet positions? So forget everything I said about sidereal time. You calculate the GMT time of the event. We get the location and the time and the date of the event, or date and time of the event, and we calculate the GMT time. And then from there, we go to the ephemeris. And we go to the GMT date of the event. In our case, that's September 15th, 2023 for the Virgo new moon. I'm not going to use what's in there, but that's what we do. We go to that date, whether you're using, you could use astro.com, you can use a Michelson ephemeris. I also really like serenu.com, SERENNU.com, and I mention all of these in the article. And serenu.com is an online ephemeris generator, essentially, that you can use. And you can just put in the date. It's automatically calculates for Greenwich Mean Time, so you can just put in the date and the time and calculate. And if you wanted, you could do the date and midnight, just to get the planet positions for midnight. So anyway, so those are 3 resources that I recommend in terms of calculating planet charts. And look at my other video that I put up, or I think I will be putting up, on this issue of copyright. It's really what that video is about, the issue of copyright, and working with that, and trying to figure out how to just how to create something a little bit, like, I think that people should be getting credit. I don't disagree with that, but I feel like that the laws we've created right now kind of hamstring people in terms of being able to take information forward and do more with it, or do their own thing with it, or whatever. And the reasons for that I go over in the video, or I think I explain it, my thinking on it. So it's just my perspective. The upshot is that this is one of the reasons I want to design and build an astrology program. That'll be somewhere down the line, but that's what I'm hoping for. Okay, so now how to calculate planet positions. There are three steps or 4 steps. I can't think of it right now, but I'll know by the end. So the first thing, find the planet positions for the date of the event. So we'll just do it this way. 3 steps. Find how far each planet traveled in 24 hours. And because the planets travel at different speeds throughout the year, there isn't a standard answer for that. So you have to go to the ephemeris and figure out where the planets were on the date of the event, and then look at the next date and figure out and see where the planets were on that date, and then do some math, just subtract one from the other. And then what you have is the distance traveled in 24 hours. So that's step 1. How far did the planets travel in 24 hours? Step 2, and this, by the way, is the longer way around it, but to me, the more intuitive way. There's a way where you can bypass this next step that I'm going to tell you about, but I'm just going to do it because it lays it out. And in the article, I think I'll go over the other way. Okay, so then what you do is, okay, we know how far the planets traveled in 24 hours. How far did they travel in 1 hour? So all we do is we take how far they traveled in 24 hours, the degrees and minutes they traveled in 24 hours, and divide that by 24 hours. Now we know how far they traveled in 1 hour. The next thing we need to figure out is how far did they travel from the ephemeris time to the event time. And I strongly recommend using the midnight ephemeris for this. And I also generally strongly recommend the midnight ephemeris, just because the math, when it comes to figuring out the distance from the ephemeris time to the event time, it's just way easier. It's really simple. When it's midnight, it's essentially it is the event time, because what you do is you take the event time and you subtract 0. You subtract midnight, which is 000000. So the answer, and this is the interval. We calculated this in it was either the last lesson or the lesson before that. I can't remember. We calculated that. And so it's just, in the case of our event, September 15th, 2023, for GMT. So our event was September 14th, 2023 in Los Angeles, California. The event time, September 15th, 2023, the GMT time, September 15th, 2023, at 1:40 in the morning. So our interval is 1:40 minus 0. 1 hour, so it's 1:40, 1 hour, 40 minutes. That's our interval. So all we have to do is take that interval and multiply how far the planet traveled, each planet traveled in 1 hour, multiply that by the interval. And that gives us how far the planet traveled from midnight to the event time. Then once we have that, all we have to do is add or subtract that to the position of the planet on the GMT date of the event. So whatever that position was on the date of the event, that's what we do. So in terms of adding or subtracting, if a planet was moving in direct motion, we add. If a planet was moving in retrograde motion, we subtract. So that's an important piece of information. And then the other thing to pay attention to is, did a planet change signs? And that's because then because it's possible, it's always possible that in that 24 hours, a planet changed signs. Although that might matter. So if, say, a planet, say our event time was 3 o'clock in the afternoon and the planet changed position at 10 in the morning, well, we need to note that change, because if our event time is 3 in the afternoon, we want to know the sign the planet was in, not the sign the ephemeris says it was in at midnight. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So 2 things. Was a planet retrograde? That matters. We subtract if it was retrograde. We add if it was direct. And then what sign was the planet in? For the event date, it's gonna give us a given sign. If it changes signs between that day and the next day, we have to figure out which sign is it in for the actual event time. The way that I like to do that is and I'm not going to go over this, but I'm just going to tell you. Well, maybe I'll go over it a little bit. The way that I do that is I like to convert. It's an extra step, may not be necessary, but I like to convert the position of the planet given in the positions of the planets given in the ephemeris to their 360 degree equivalent. So they're always given by sign. Signs are 30 degrees apiece. So I like to convert those when I'm trying to get clear on the sign, if I'm confused about it, to the circle, the entire circle. And then that clarifies it for me. And the reason that clarifies it for me, any planet in Aries on the natural wheel, Aries is 0 to 30 degrees. So if a planet in the ephemeris is in Aries, the 360 degree position of that planet is the position of the planet plus 0 degrees. Taurus starts at 30 degrees and it goes to 60 degrees or 59, whatever. I'm sorry, 29, 59, 59. So Taurus starts at 30 degrees. So if a planet is in Taurus, it's somewhere in Taurus. So it starts somewhere at 30 degrees and then whatever that is. So we take that position in Taurus, which is given to us in a 30 degree format, and we add 30 degrees to it. If a planet was in Gemini, Gemini starts at 60 degrees. And so we add 60 degrees to that planet positions, and etc., all the way around. Pisces begins at 330 degrees. So that's how you do that. And then when you have both of those and you subtract them, you get the difference. But then, so that's not going to help us know. But then if we use that 360 degree format for the position, then when we add or subtract the amount, the distance the planet traveled from midnight to the ephemeris, from the ephemeris time of midnight to the event time, then we will get a 360-degree result, and we will know by default what sign that is in, because any sign in Taurus is going to be somewhere between 30 and 60 degrees. Anytime in, let's say, Virgo starts at 150 degrees, it ends at 180 degrees or 170, 79, 59, 59, whatever. So any planet that's on, say, 150, 160, 170 degrees, that's going to be in Virgo. So we will know what sign it's in just by doing the math using 360 degrees. So for me, that's just an easier way to do it, even though it's a little bit extra step. So anyway, that was an aside. Getting back to calculating planet position. So let's do something really, really easy. We'll do the sun. It always moves retrograde. I'm sorry. It always moves direct. It never changes. It's always direct. We don't have to worry about retrograde with the sun. Let's say on September 15th, this is not true, but let's just say that it was at 2 degrees. Well, we will say Virgo just because we're in the Virgo season for September. Let's say it was at 2 degrees. On September 15th, it was at 2 degrees. And then we want to look at the next day. So how do we figure out how far a planet moved in 24 hours? We take down the degree of the planet on the day of the event, the GMT day of the event, the one that's listed in the midnight ephemeris. And I don't know if I said it, but yeah, I did. I think I already addressed this. I highly recommend the midnight ephemeris. So then 2 degrees. So then it's going to continue. If it's moving direct, the sun will be moving direct over the course of from 0 degrees on the 15th. From midnight on the 15th to midnight on the 16th, it will have moved a certain amount. That's the amount it moves, and it moved in 24 hours. So when we look, we look at the where it was on September 16th, September 15th, and then we look at where it was on September 16th. And the sun moves about a degree a day. So let's say that it was at 3 degrees of, we'll say, Virgo. So this is very easy. We can see it moved 1 degree, but sometimes it can be trickier to tell how far because of minutes and seconds and all that. So what we would do, the way that I do this, is I just like to take the higher degree. If I'm just going to work with the 30, within the 30 degree, I take the higher degree and either way, I guess, I take the higher degree and subtract the lower degree. It is a little bit different, by the way, actually. Well, I'm not going to go there. Let's just do 3 degrees minus 2 degrees, 1 degree. So in 24 hours, the sun moved 1 degree in our example. And so we know how far it moved in 1 hour, in 24 hours, 1 degree. How far did it move in 24 hours? We divide 1 degree by 24. And I did that before, and the answer is 2 minutes and 30 seconds. You can use a degree calculator to do this, or you can figure out how to do it by hand. I'd have to think about how to do that by hand, actually, because 1 degree, I guess that would be 60 minutes divided by 24. I think that's the way I would do it. 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Now I'm kind of curious. Anyway, 2 degrees and 30. Yeah, because now I'm actually curious. So if we do 60 divided by 24, we get 2. That gives us 48. And that gives us 6, 5, 10. That gives us 2. And that gives us 1. So 12. We can't do that, but 120. So 24. Let's see, 5 times 4 is 20, 5 times 2 is 10, 11, 12. So that goes in 0.5. Yeah, so that's 120. 5 times 4 is 20, 5 times 2 is 10, 11, 12. So 2.5, so that's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So that's how you would do it. You would convert something like that to minutes and divide. Okay, so in 1 hour, the sun moves 2 minutes and in one hour it moves 2 minutes and 30 seconds. In 24 hours it moves 1 degree. In 1 hour it moves 202 minutes and 30 seconds. Now, what we want to do, how do we figure out how far the planet moved from midnight to the from midnight, our ephemeris time, to the event time. And the way that we do that is we take the interval, so the time of the event minus midnight, which is always going to be the time of the event, and we multiply this number by that interval. So just to make it super easy, if our event occurred at 1 a.m., we would multiply this by 1. If we were to use our event time, 1 hour 40 minutes, it would be good to, well, maybe not easier, maybe you just have to convert that. We would convert that to a decimal, and the way that we convert that to a decimal is we take the hours, in this case 1, and that becomes our whole number. We don't have to do anything with it. That becomes our whole number, because 1 hour is a complete hour. And then what we do is, if there are minutes and seconds, we take those, and we want to find out what proportion of an hour the minutes were and what proportion of an hour the seconds were. And we divide, in the case of the minutes, there are 60 minutes in an hour. So we divide the minutes by 60, and that's the decimal, and we add that to the hours. And then we take the seconds. There are 3,600 seconds in an hour. So we divide the seconds by 3,600, and we add that to the hour and the minutes that are already there too. So that's how you get a decimal. So in the case of 1 hour and 40 minutes, if you do the math, it turns out to be it's like 66666. I don't know how many sixes, and then a 7. So you could just do 1.6667 or whatever. Just figure out whatever number of decimals you need you just kind of figure out what the best number of decimals to use is, what's the best rounding number for you to use. But anyway, I would use 1.6667. I'm pretty sure that's what I would do. And then you would multiply 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Again, 2 minutes and 30 seconds is how far it moved in an hour. If our event time was an hour and 40 minutes, and that as a decimal, if our interval was 1 hour and 40 minutes, and the decimal was 1.6667, we would multiply this 2 minutes and 30 seconds by 1.6667. And that would tell us how far it moved in the space, in the interval, in the space between midnight and the event time. So then we would take that number, and now we go back to the ephemeris. We look up again the planet position for the day, the GMT date of our event. So in our case, we looked it up, and it was 2 degrees. It was at 2 degrees, and we add 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So that's pretty easy. 2 degrees plus, well, let's just do it. It's 2 degrees, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but if it would be 0 to degrees plus 0, 0, 0 to 30, and 0, 0, 0, 0. And so what we end up with is 3202. So our planet, in this case the sun, theoretically, hypothetically, for September 15th, totally hypothetically, its planet position is 2 degrees, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and that's in Virgo. And again, this is all just random numbers. Let's say it was Mercury, and all these things were the same for Mercury, but Mercury was retrograde. Well, then what we would do is we would subtract this from the planet position. So if the planet position again was 2 degrees, then we have to subtract. Sorry about that. Well, we'll just do it. We would have to subtract 0, 0. Well, sorry, this is just very messy. Let's just pull up another one. So 0, 2, 0, 0, 0, 0, and then minus 0, 0, 0, 2, 3, 0. And that gives us, we just have to take that 1, this becomes 60, but then it becomes 59, and this becomes 60, and so we get 30, and we get 59. 9 minus 2 is not 9, it's 7, and then this is 5, and then this is 0, 1. So in this case, if the planet had been moving retrograde, its planet position is 1 degree, 57 minutes, and 30 seconds, and it's still in Virgo. It hasn't changed signs. And again, for me, it's easier to see that sometimes and do the math sometimes, particularly if there's a sign change when I do by using the 360-degree equivalent of the planet position. Okay, so I hope that was clear. That made sense. And if there are any questions, ask. Yeah, and if other people watch this and they really know how to do this and they know math really well, feel free to chime in and share your understanding also. And but I will leave this. I will leave this as is. And remember, there is another way to do it where you can bypass figuring out how far a planet traveled in 1 hour, and I will show that in the chart. I'm sorry, in the article that I'm writing. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you so much. Take care, and I hope this was helpful. Okay, bye.